Hello, everyone. In this video, I'm going to share with you information about the topic of clauses. In particular, clauses of contrast, purpose, reason, and result. Remember, first of all, that clauses make up sentences. That's important to understand because you can have different clauses, different types of clauses making up different types of sentences, compound, complex, even simple ones. The clauses can be dependent or independent. And that means when it is independent, that can stand alone. And that's a typical short sentence. When the sentences start containing like more information, they become sometimes compound or complex. In this case, today we're going to see subordinate clauses because they are dependent clauses. They depend on the main clause, the most important part of the sentence, and the different functionality or ideas they express. You can have the contrast idea, and ideas, functionalities are shown directly by using connectors or cohesive devices or linkers that show or give the idea of, in this case, contrast. So we're going to see some examples. You could pause the video, and because it's a lot of information, I'm not going to read or speak about all. I'm just going to mention some of the contrasting linkers, such as although or even though, however, despite, in spite of. But there's something to take into account whenever using these linkers is that position and how they are used. Although, even though, can have initial or middle position, but they always need to be followed by a clause, okay? They can never be followed by just a word or a phrase. Whereas despite or in spite of, as you can see in the examples, can be followed by a noun or or a gerund, okay? So that's important to remember and to respect. If you have a look at however has middle or final position, but it's a different meaning from although, even though is a pesar de, and this is sin embargo, however is sin embargo. So they are used in different ways. Okay, so that's about contrast. Then we have purpose. So why? Purpose answers the question why. And to answer purpose, of course, you can use because, but here are other expressions like the to infinitive. The students worked hard to pass the test. So that's purpose, infinitive of purpose. And then other phrases like in order to, so as to, or the negative forms, in order not to, so as not to. Be careful where you position the negative word. And then you can also add the someone or the something you are talking about, but you've got to use that after for and before the infinitive, like in order for me to visit you, okay? So it's kind of a structure that you've got to follow. That's for purpose. Then you can also have so that, but that requires a clause again, normally followed by a modal verb expressing a functionality, or for plus a noun, for a drink, for a pizza, or a gerund for cutting plastic. Remember that gerund takes the for, like all prepositions except the preposition to. And then you can also have in case, okay? That also takes a clause. Then reason, the reason. Here you've got the because. Well, I mentioned because in purpose, but the reason is more appropriate than the purpose. Because, as, since that behave in a similar way, or because of, a causa de, or due to, owing to, or on account of. That's also debido a. So these are all words that work for reason, that introduce a clause of reason. Then the result is like the consequence of something that happened. So you can have so for this reason, as a result, consequently, therefore. And as you can see, most of them take initial position and are followed by a comma. It's not the case of so that is preceded by the comma, but also has initial position. And then you can also have in mid position the therefore or consequently as an alternative. Okay, so this is about the important thing here about clauses is the linkers, because many times we tend not to use and include linkers while we are talking, and they are very much necessarily used in the language, and they give the idea of a much more advanced language level. Okay, so take notes of all connectors and what they express. Bye.